Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for a bite-sized training on offer versus serve for frontline child nutrition professionals. My name is Ruth Howard, and I am a program specialist in the Office of Nutrition and Program Services. I hope you are as excited about this training as I am. We will not be taking any questions at the end of this presentation, but if you have questions, please email a member of the NSLP team, and we will answer your questions. This training will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel in the future. What is offer versus serve? Offer versus serve, or OVS, is a provision in the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program that allows students to decline some of the food offered. The goals of OVS are to reduce food waste in the school meals programs while permitting students to decline foods they do not intend to eat. OVS at lunch and breakfast. At lunch, schools must offer students all 5 required food components and at least the minimum required amounts. The components at lunch are meat alternates, grains, fruits, vegetables, and fluid milk. Under OVS, a student must take at least 3 components in the required serving size. One selection must be at least a half a cup from either the fruit or vegetable component. At breakfast, schools must offer students all 3 required food components and at least the minimum required amounts. The components at breakfast are grains with the option of meat alternates allowed, juice, fruit, vegetable, and milk. Under OVS, at breakfast, a student must be offered at least 4 food items and must select at least 3 food items, one of which must be a half a cup of fruit or vegetables for OVS. Whether it be lunch or breakfast, one rule is hard and fast. Students must select a fruit or vegetable in the required serving size for a reimbursable meal at breakfast and lunch. The goal of OVS is to reduce food waste while allowing students to choose the foods they want to eat. Everyone plays a role. When students and cafeteria staff understand OVS, breakfast and lunch lines move smoothly, allowing students to make the most of mealtime and enjoy the wholesome and appealing foods they are served. It also helps reduce overall food costs and waste. Make sure you have clear, easy to understand signage showing students what constitutes a reimbursable meal. Offering 4 different types of cereal and instructing students to select one at breakfast is not the same as offering 4 grain items. Because the student can only select one and only one grain item, in this case cereal, being offered, even though the student can select from several cereal options. And I will speak more about vegetables at breakfast on the next slide. And I want to remind you all that water does not count as one of the 3 required food components and cannot be served as a substitute for milk. Make sure you are serving 2 different types of milk and that white milk is offered before flavored milk. Child nutrition labels are best for determining how food items credit, but to aid you in determining crediting for grains, I have added a link to Exhibit A, Grain Requirements for Child Nutrition Programs, to the resource page of this presentation. Use Exhibit A for crediting grains at lunch too. There's also a section in the food buying guide that talks about grains, and that is a great resource. Per the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023, USDA Policy Memo SP 06-2023 in Section 740 of Division A of the Appropriations Act, Congress provides that school food authorities participating in the school breakfast program may credit any vegetable offered, including potatoes and other starchy vegetables, in place of fruit without including vegetables from other subgroups in the weekly menus. This legislative flexibility is effective for school years 2023 and 23-24, and providing that additional flexibility for school food authorities in planning their breakfast menus. Is it reimbursable? For a breakfast to be reimbursable, at least 4 food items must be offered. Students must select 3 food items, including a half a cup of fruit and/or vegetable for the meal to be reimbursable under OVS. Use this simple checklist to determine if breakfasts are reimbursable under OVS. Does the meal offered consist of at least 4 food items? Does the meal offered include the minimum required amounts of fruits, grains, and milk? Does the meal selected by the student contain at least 3 food items, including at least 1/2 cup fruit and/or vegetable? If the answer to each of these questions is yes, the breakfast meal is reimbursable under OVS. And here are some facts about OVS at breakfast. Offer versus serve allows students to decline some of the food offered in a school breakfast program. Offer versus serve is optional for all grade levels at breakfast. All items on a serving line must be listed prior to the point of service, listed at or near the beginning of the serving line, labeled, identifiable. Point of service staff must be trained on what makes a reimbursable meal at breakfast and lunch. Here's some more OV facts for breakfast. Pre-plating, pre-packaging, bundling food items is allowed, but the schools are encouraged to have some food items, such as milk choices or fruit and vegetable, available for students to make the choice. If offering pre-bagged meals at breakfast, there is no requirement that all possible combinations of choices must be made to all students. A component is defined as one of the food groups that comprise a reimbursable meal. And there are 3 required components that must be offered at breakfast. And again, grains, milks, and fruit or vegetable. After 1 grain has been offered, you may offer meat alternates, but they credit as a grain on your production records. That would be like a cheese stick or a yogurt. An item is a specific food offered within a component. And with OVS at breakfast, at least 4 food items must be offered from 3 components, and a student must select at least 3 items. One of the items must be at least a half a cup of fruit or vegetable. And I just want to make a note that if you are serving preschool students and they are not mingled with other grade levels at meal service, you cannot use the offer versus serve model with them. They are serve only. And if they are not mingled with another age grade group at the time of meal service, make sure you are using the Child and Adult Care Feeding Program meal pattern for the preschoolers. The required 5 food components must be offered for school lunch. Students must select at least 3 of the 5 required food components, including at least a half a cup of fruit and/or vegetable to have a reimbursable meal. See the required food components table right here on our right for a listing of required food components and their minimum quantities that must be offered. Meats, meat alternates, and grains are measured in ounce equivalents. Fruit and vegetables are measured in volume. So this required food component table does show you what the serving sizes are that you have to offer. Is it reimbursable? Does the meal offered to students include the minimum required amounts of vegetables, fruits, grains, meat alternates, and fluid milk? Does the meal selected by the student contain at least 3 components, including at least 1/2 cup fruit and/or vegetable? If the answer to each of these questions is yes, then the school lunch is reimbursable under OVS. So now we'll do a little OVS lunch quiz. Here's a menu for grades K through 5 and 6 through 8. Choose one, hamburger on bun or roasted turkey sandwich, So that's 1.5 ounce equivalent meat alternate, 2-ounce grains. Choose 1, baked beans, sweet potato wedges, green beans, and here it's being offered in the 3/4 cup serving. Choose up to 2, assorted fruit or fruit cocktail, and they're in a 1/2 cup total with 2 selections. Choose 1, low-fat, unflavored, or non-fat flavored milk, 1 cup. And the student selects the milk, a 1/2 cup of fruit cocktail, and 3/4 cup sweet potatoes, reimbursable meal or not. I'll give you a second to think about that. Okay, pencils down. Yes, it is a reimbursable meal. Why? 3 components have been selected, one of which is the required fruit or vegetable. Let's try another one. Now we have a menu for grades 9 through 12, and they are having a hamburger or a roasted turkey sandwich. This time it's a 2-ounce equivalent grain with a 2-ounce equivalent meat alternate. Choose up to 2 seasoned corn, green beans, potato wedges, and this is being offered in a 1/2 cup serving each. Choose up to 2 orange slices, fruit cocktail, banana, apple juice, and those are in 1/2 cup serving sizes. Choose 1 non-fat unflavored milk or non-fat flavored milk to equal a 1 cup serving. And I just want to make a note here about the vegetable. 2 1/2 cups of a fruit and a 1/2 cup of a vegetable cannot be credited as 2 components if the student only selects 3 components total. Either the fruit or vegetable must be a full cup to count as both components for OVS. Our student selects milk, 2 1/2 cup orange slices for a total of 1 cup serving, and 3/4 cup sweet potato wedges. So is that a meal or not? Yes, it is. Why? The student selected a total of 1 cup servings of fruit. Now let's do one more for lunch. We'll go back to our K through 5 and 6 through 8, and this time hamburger, turkey sandwich again, and the 1.5 ounce for the meat and 2-ounce grains, baked beans, sweet potato wedges, green beans, 3/4 cup, sorted fruit cocktail, a 1/4 cup each, 1/2 cup total with 2 selections, and choose 1, non-fat flavored milk or low-fat unflavored milk. Student selects the turkey sandwich and a 1/4 cup assorted fruit and a 1/4 cup fruit cocktail, and that's going to count as your required 1/2 cup. Is this a reimbursable meal or not? Yes, it is. Why? 3 components have been selected. The meat alternate, the turkey, the grain, the bread that it's on, and the fruit, which is in the required fruit or vegetable amount for a serving. Here's some additional tips for OVS success. Post signage with pictures or graphics near the beginning of each serving line to help students identify how to build a reimbursable meal and wherever student choices are made. Ask cashiers to review the reimbursable meal signage before each meal service. Your production records will also help child nutrition staff to understand what constitutes a reimbursable meal. Keep fruit near the cashier stand so students can easily complete their reimbursable meal. Encourage teachers to review the day's menu with students and explain how students can select a reimbursable meal. Post menus that highlight required meal components on your school's website and or on flyers that children can take home to discuss with their parents or caregivers. And here are the resources that I used to prepare today's presentation. And I want you to know all the quiz questions and answers came directly from the USDA OVS manual. It is a great resource to have. There are also tip sheets for OVS at breakfast and lunch that are invaluable to help your staff understand what constitutes a reimbursable meal. And there are other things, items at Team Nutrition that can help you, posters, And I added the resource for serving school meals to preschoolers in case that applies to you. Here's the NSLP team contact information. We just added Bridget Resi to our team last month. She comes to us from the Wisconsin State Agency, and we are tickled pink to have her join our team. She is the FFVP person now. And I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. Have a great afternoon.
And if anybody has any questions that they can think of after this, we're not going to take them right now. Please send either Ruth or myself an email and we can get those answered as soon as possible. And if you had attended a past information buffet since November, we'll be sending those certificates out either by the end of this week or early next week, as well as for this information buffet.